This is Gary Goodwin, founder of The Armchair Dreamer, and welcome. This is the place to come for tips, tools, and techniques for working with your imagination. We need a common language about imagination. That way we can compare notes, put apples to apples, and all that sort of thing. But we don't have that common vocabulary. I've tried to work with the vocabulary that's already been out there for a long time. That visualization is imagination, or fantasy is imagination, or some people say, well, it's an overactive imagination, as though someone's been caught in a degree of madness, so it's not good. Some think of imagination as being creativity. Some think of imagination as being intuition. In some cases, yes, we can roll that in, but we need to be able to explore and talk about individual portions of the imaginative experience. I'm not going to change the world with this, but I want to introduce you to what I have, which I think adds clarity to what we're talking about, what we're learning how to do, and what we can share when we talk about it. I've come up with some very simple, very global terminology that comes from our experience of types of imagination and our use of imagination. I got everything under just 3 umbrellas. Keep in mind, this is general. This is where we work, where we concentrate when we want to do more with imagination and know more about imagination. Directed imagination is when we decide that there's something we want to do with these inner processes, known and unknown, and that we're seeking some sort of result out of it. For instance, we may want to experiment before we do something in the real world, such as rearrange a room, repaint a room. We can see in our mind's eye of how it might look. We can try different combinations or different paints before we invest or take the time to do it in the real world, and that is experimenting. And of course, that can go all the way to all forms of creativity, all forms of invention. We also use this visualization power, this directed imagination in sports performance, where we see ourselves performing either in the first person or the third person, or we see analogies of how we want to swing a golf club. This is a very popular use of what I call directed imagination. Again, the basic points are there's something we want to do with the processes of imagination, and there's some result, certain result that we're looking for. The second umbrella, the second major category of imagination, is spontaneous imagination. And the best known example of that are our night dreams. Those dreams, for the most part, we don't set. We don't set the characters, the place, the message. They just come to us. And then it's left to us to see if we want to do something with them. Another form of spontaneous imagination are the moods we find ourselves in. A mood can roll in uncalled for. We don't know why it's there. We don't know when it first developed in us. It may be familiar. It may have hit us several times before, or many times before, and we're not sure not only where it came from, but we're not sure how long it's going to last. The little things that we attempt don't seem to move it out of the way or to change its shape. However, we have noticed that there may be something that comes in, a little surprise or a visit or a phone call or something that comes along, and gone instantly is the mood. The mood has left us instantly. Those are examples of spontaneous imagination. A third common form of spontaneous imagination is a sensation in the body. Maybe feeling nervous or feeling agitated or feeling uncertain, feeling as though we have a hunch, feeling something isn't quite right, feeling something is more important to us than we realized. It can be localized, this sensation. It can be localized to the stomach area or to the neck area, to the head area, somewhere in the torso. It has a physicality, but it's elusive. It's not something we've created, but it's something that's come up, perhaps with a message, if we could just understand it, something that's come up from the imagination. I'm going to finish up with spontaneous imagination today by saying it is mysterious. We don't know when it's going to happen. We don't oftentimes know how to decode it. Frequently we have to live with it, but it shows the power of our imagination, the power of the unconscious, that these things can come up. But they can be observed and they can be explored, and in many cases we can learn what is behind this action, this sensation coming from the unconscious, what it's about. And sometimes we can make a shift from having the sensation, maybe not very comfortable with it, that we learn something from it and the sensation changes or it goes away. Some sort of message has been received, and perhaps our unconscious lets us know and communicates with us, good job, you got it. Interactive imagination, umbrella number 3, combines directed imagination and spontaneous imagination, at least some of the basic direction of each. It incorporates the goal orientation of directed imagination in that we're trying to do something. It may not be as hard-edged or defined, but we're still trying to accomplish something. What it borrows from spontaneous imagination is getting to a point where we are working on something and we allow and we encourage and we open the door to spontaneous imagination to come in and fill in details or give us new directions or create a whole ambiance of where we're working. In the beginning, as well as up to intermediate level, it requires us to set aside time to quiet down, to relax, and to open to the imagery and the feelings and the sensations that come up to us when we're in that particular state. A state that I call twilight dreaming, which is almost approaching sleep, where we might go over to sleep, but we don't. We maintain consciousness. So we are working both consciously as well as at the margins, letting the unconscious come up and express itself and react to what we may be putting out. A lot of people go within to explore a particular dream image that they had, to see what it might be related to, what it reminds them of, what other associations might come up. Others go in to hold a form of inner work, of inner guidance, or talking to an inner figure, so to speak, to get inspiration from, to get ideas from, to certainly get out of our common ways of thinking, going inside, creating an atmosphere and bringing up probably somebody that's been meaningful or could be meaningful to us, and asking questions or seeking direction and letting the spontaneity of our unconscious fill that and offer suggestions and offer guidance and offer ideas. To restate it and to summarize it, because this is very special, this is not commonly taught, it's not commonly discussed. Interactive imagination allows conscious and unconscious to meet, and conscious and unconscious converse and share. How and through what processes, not fully understood, but if you follow this and learn interactive imagination, you will see for yourself through your own experiences how this indeed is possible. Okay, let's finish up for today. Here I'm going to list one last opportunity to try to introduce this new terminology. You see the umbrella 1, 2, and 3. Fortunately, there are common techniques that set you up well to be ready to work in all 3 of those areas. So you learn those techniques, you refine those techniques, you'll be set up to do whatever you want to do. And to learn more about these techniques and to find answers to, I'm sure, some things you're wondering about, or to make comments, go to armchaildreamer.com. This is Gary Goodwin, founder of the Armchair Dreamer, and I will see you next time.